We should do an episode on nursing homes.
I feel like that would be incredibly depressing.
We could visit a nursing home,
I have
interview
a friend
someone
I have a friend who
who's in a
just started
nursing home.
working. It's
Oh,
Amy. Yeah. And she's the activities director or one of them.
no way. That sounds
And there's
fun.
yeah, no, she said it's a ton of fun and there's a lot of the people who are there obviously can't take care of themselves anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're in the nursing home. But there's
Sure.
this one lady, like Amy will be like, "All right, guys, we're all gonna get we're gonna get you all rounded up and we're gonna go play some bingo." And then, like, because she was still kind of new, this one old lady who has dementia is like, um, okay, but I should probably get home soon because my parents are gonna be wondering where I'm at.
Oh, she went like all
So
the
it's
way
like
back,
all the
huh?
way back. And she's like, I mean, I guess. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's super funny, but also incredibly sad.
It
So,
is. It is. And I think that's going to change a little bit generationally because us, they're probably just going to pump us full of THC and put our, MetaQuest 7s on and just let us be out in VR.
if I don't have a Neuralink by then, um, I don't know what I'll do.
Bro, you probably already have one. Have you been under general anesthesia anytime in the last 5 years?
Actually, no, because I have
Oh,
a family history of malignant hypothermia, which is when people don't wake back up once they're put under. Fun
sheesh, that
fact.
sounds scary. So you
So the
might not
surgeries
actually
I've
have
had,
the
I've been
chip, huh?
awake. No, unless I've been abducted. But I don't think that would be a Neuralink. I think that would probably be something else. So,
Okay. So, anyway.
so what are we talking about tonight,
Yeah,
Sid?
absolutely. So, Bailey, there comes a time in every cop's life where they experience a crime so heinous that it backs them up against a wall with a decision. Do I go on keeping the peace, or do I go home and lay in bed for the next 30 years? Now, don't quote me on that. Believe it or not, I'm not a cop. I'm more of just a, gruff, concerned citizen type. Citizens arrests, I might have a few handcuffs, but I'm not using them in the name of justice.
I'm
Um,
gonna I'm gonna stop you right there because this sounds like you're trying to say that Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was a cop before he sat in bed for 30 years.
What the heck? We might be discovering something here on NKN Pod tonight. No, that's really true. He might have seen something he just couldn't get over, and it took the promise of chocolate to get him back up off his feet, or
I
back
mean,
up onto his feet after he'd been
I
off of them for
yeah
30 years.
yeah.
Huh. Yeah,
Well, let us know what you think in the comments.
for sure. But just like Grandpa Joe, I'm not taking any crap from anybody. So,
Okay.
all that to say, today I wanted to talk about a pretty interesting crime, or specifically a crime bust that happened in Brussels a couple of years ago. So,
Okay.
Bailey, have you ever had Brussels?
Yes. Um, Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
Yeah, they make me gassy.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't know
not
about
super
you.
great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but when I started researching this, the first thing that blew my mind was the idea that all of this could be happening over some Brussels. Heck, I don't even think they're that good. You need to fry them in butter and just cover them in salt and MSG to even make them palatable. But further research revealed that there's actually an entire city sharing the same name as everyone's least favorite vegetable. So the city of Brussels is the capital of a country called Belgium, a small nation nestled between the Netherlands, Germany, England, and unfortunately sharing its southern border with France. So
Why,
now,
unfortunately?
I mean, it's France, okay?
All right,
So
continue.
now to be honest here for a second, have you
Yeah.
ever heard of this place or any place like this?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Um,
Because I was kind of taken aback, but as I recall there was a famous U.S. punk rock band, Bowling for Soup, who covered a song or wrote the song by the same name, Bel Belgium, or whatever it is. And
Belgium.
yeah, Belgium, that's it. Um,
Okay.
so anyway, if you ever heard that song, it goes like, "Lately I feel so small, or maybe it's just that my bed has grown. Never noticed it before, but you were there, so how was I supposed to know?" Have you heard that?
Um, if I have, it was a long time ago. But I think I would need to listen to the actual song to kind of, you know,
For sure.
get a feel for it.
Yeah, and
So,
we can link that in the show notes. So, enough dilly dallying. Let's get right into it. So,
all right.
this comes from Associated Press, so it's probably reliable. As a matter of fact, AP regularly rates near the top of the Adfonts Media Bias chart, scoring among the highest institutions for original fact reporting, while simultaneously scoring near dead center for political bias. So, Bailey, have you ever seen the Adfonts Media bias chart before? And if so, like, I don't know, what have you seen about it?
I don't know that I've seen that chart specifically because I'm bad at remembering names, unfortunately.
Oh,
But I
sure,
have
sure,
seen a
sure.
chart that lists out all of the news channels and says, like, these are more left leaning, these are more right. This is more kind of in the middle. I remember NPR kind of being in the middle, but it was a little more on the left,
Sure.
stuff like that. So I don't know if I've seen that specifically. Did you send it to me in Discord?
Yeah. So if and
I'm
I'll
not even logged in.
toss it up on the screen. It's probably like way too tiny to even see
It's
on
okay.
there. But there's lots of interesting stuff, like on the very far right, with most politically right affiliated and least reliable. You have like the Alex Jones podcast. Then
Yes.
on far on the or more towards the center near the top, we see AP. There's other stuff, that kind of swings a little far on the left. Just a whole bunch of things. I think they review about, what is it, like 130 different news sites. So all that
Yeah.
is to say that AP is not just tooting their own horn, they're one of the more reputable news sources, right? It's important
Yeah.
to establish that ahead of time.
Where is?
So
I don't even see it on here, Ethan.
oh, yeah. Well, it is a little bit tucked behind if you open up the chart
Oh, I see it.
and
I see it.
yeah,
Okay, by
you have to,
ABC and BBC.
yeah, exactly. It's just
Yeah.
behind them a little bit, probably
Okay.
because they didn't pay for a sponsored spot.
Yeah.
Could be, it could be. But there's obviously like a little bit of like what would you say, contention even with that, where people say, oh, who gives them the authority to say what's biased and what's not, what's their metrics they're using, blah blah blah. Some people on
Sure.
both sides hate them. Obviously, if you have a company that got a low score, you hate them too. But we're just going to
Mm-hmm.
go with that to say that it's generally regarded as accurate. So, it gives you the meat and potatoes of the story understanding,
Yeah.
just saying that
Yeah.
it's real and corroborated. So, when you think of the meat and potatoes, which one do you usually envision eating first?
The meat, kind of like a stew.
Yeah, you're fishing
Yeah.
around for that
Yeah.
beef. Typically, is what I would
Mm-hmm.
be doing the same.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You probably think I'm procrastinating, but that's because some of the details of this story are so disturbing that even a hardened, grizzled, not exactly a cop, but concerned citizen like me has trouble getting into it, which is why I wrote this whole rigmarole.
Okay. Well, let's
Okay.
get into it.
All
Let's
right.
hear the
So,
grisly details.
yeah, for sure. So, the first article I read for this is literally titled "Brussels Drugs Raid Reveals Trove of Tarantulas and Scorpions."
What?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just gonna, it's only a couple paragraphs here on the AP article, so I'm just gonna read it.
Okay.
Belgian police searching for drugs in a Brussels apartment have discovered 37 cannabis plants, as well as a collection of dozens of poisonous spiders, scorpions, and desert dwelling lizards. Prosecutors said Friday that 2 men arrested in the apartment during the raid are being investigated for animal welfare violations, in addition to facing drug-related charges. Police made the unexpected discovery Wednesday after they were told a strong cannabis smell was coming from a building in a northwest neighborhood of Belgium's capital. Officers searched an apartment where a father and his adult son were arrested. In addition to the cannabis plants and 228 grams of marijuana that they seized, police found 52 tarantulas, a python, 3 scorpions, 4 turtles, 2 lizards in the pagona family, also known as bearded dragons, and 16 beetles. So yeah, 16 beetles, so
What?
weird. But yeah, there is a lot to unpack here. But first, uh, the big question is, Bailey, is your computer running?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, whether or not it has legs to do that running, it might be running behind when it comes to the specs that you need to keep a competitive edge. NVIDIA's new RTX 50 series GPUs offer the pinnacle of PC performance at price points for every build. Whether you need to push multiple 8K streams or just want to dominate the latest Battle Royale game, RTX has you covered. With the graphical demands of modern games, why risk bottlenecking on the most important components? Future-proof your rig by going to NVIDIA.com. So, back to this article. Basically, the
Oh my
police
god.
were called because someone smelled weed and took it upon
Uh-huh.
themselves to frickin' narc the heck out on 2
Yeah, right.
buddies with their
I'm gonna guess.
scorpions.
I'm gonna guess it's illegal there in Belgium.
Yeah, actually, in Belgium, it is illegal, and I will get into that. But the first thing that stuck to me also is this entire thing seems like it was maybe blown a little out of proportion. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me break this
Yeah.
down for you. All right.
Okay.
First of all, are you for or against this crime, just at the surface level?
Like them doing it?
Yeah,
I mean, you got yes and no.
sure,
So, yes, but if it's also illegal, you have to be smart about it, I guess, if you're going to do dumb stuff. But also, there are laws in most places, at least in the US, I'm not sure other countries, on how many pets you can own.
mm,
Um, unless it's like a farm, I think.
sure,
I don't know if there are limits on that, but like, when the last state we lived in, Iowa, the city said somebody couldn't have more than like 3 cats.
3
Um,
seems like a really low
or and
threshold.
you couldn't have more than 6 total pets. So like you could have 3 cats and 3 dogs, but you couldn't have more than that kind
Sure.
of thing.
I mean, that's probably good in general, I would say. I definitely know a lot of people who have more pets than that.
Yeah, that's true too. But I would also like to add, um, exotic pets. Some of them require you to have a license.
Sure.
So like a specific kind of snake.
Right. And
I don't,
I'm gonna guess by the fact that they were charged on like an animal welfare situation, they probably weren't doing a lot of stuff by the book. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna dig in here. I think I might have got an idea of what they may have been doing. So,
Okay.
first off, there were only 37 cannabis plants and 228 grams of weed, which, if you don't smoke, just know that that's roughly half a pound, which is barely enough for a decent party, let alone a drug raid. Now, according to Wikipedia, cannabis is technically illegal in Belgium, but the laws have relaxed in the past couple decades. So most cities do not enforce weed policies and have even formally allowed certain amounts of weed. In other cases, Belgium specifically, weed possession was decriminalized in 2003, which, freaking hippie burnouts. And citizens are allowed to carry up to 3 grams if they're out of their
Okay.
residence, right?
Okay.
So plant cultivation is slightly more frowned upon, just like it is over here in the United States. Even if
Mhm.
recreational cannabis is legal, you usually can have like 0 to 3 plants. But it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's also worth keeping in mind that a well cared for indoor cannabis plant only produces about 100 grams of bud. So that's it. These guys are getting the handcuffs and getting their just like European butt smacked and patted down over a measly 228 grams of weed plus or minus 3,700 grams. Again, I think maybe they're freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. I also want to know, how did they get into to the place?
I
Like
was
to that person's house?
So I was wondering that too, if it was like a no-knock bust-in entry or anything. I couldn't find any information on the actual like kickdown. I'd like to think full battering ram and discovered them probably zoned out on some sweet indica or something on their
Yeah,
couch, chilling
something.
with their bearded dragons. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
So yeah. But Bailey, so let me ask you this, all right?
Okay.
Do you ever just like, you know, want to just like go to Europe and like freaking light up a fat spliff of dope just because, you don't give a flip? Because if you do, I just got to let you know that that's illegal. That's something we can enjoy over here in the United States. And just
Well,
because it's not enforced doesn't mean that if you're in the middle of committing another crime, they can't also use that against you.
all right, so here's the deal. In the US, it's still federally illegal, but some states have started to legalize it. So
Sure.
on a federal level, you could still be charged for something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, so technically we don't even have to leave to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
That's all
fair.
I'm
That's
saying.
fair. So, all that to say, it is kind of a gray area. They might have had slightly too much weed, but it like isn't a big deal at all that they had that. But
Okay.
it might have been a bigger deal that they thought they were some kind of like frickin' zookeepers. So
Yeah.
we're almost forgetting about one of the strangest parts of all of this, which is the animals. So to recap the inventory here, we had 52 tarantulas or tarantulae. I don't know what's
Ugh,
plural is.
my skin is
A
crawling.
python, 3 scorpions, 4 turtles, 2 bearded dragons, and 16 beetles. To me, that sounds like just a few chill animal tanks. So they like what? Made it illegal for a few dozen buds to get together and smoke a few fat spliffs when they're feeling oppressed by the big pharma. Count me out, dog.
Okay, you need to simmer down for a minute. How about I tell a joke
Please.
to help you calm down? Um, where do Hang on, I have to make this up.
We're not
Let me
editing
think.
out any of the dead
Okay.
space.
Okay. No pressure. In Brussels, instead of a police academy, it's called the Brussels Sprouts.
That's actually pretty good. It's
You think
very
so?
wholesome. I was worried it was going to be some kind of joke about drugs.
Oh no, I can think of another one though if you want. But I do miss what wasn't it Brussels sprouts that Jimmy John's used to put on their sandwiches?
What? I don't know. I might have missed this.
Brussels sprouts? No, was it Brussels sprouts or was it just sprouts?
I don't know if I don't know if either of these, but they stopped. Well, if it's Brussels sprouts, I can see why they stopped. It's not very good.
Ah, they were just sprouts.
Have you seen that blue spirulina?
Alfalfa sprouts.
Alfalfa.
It was alfalfa sprouts. So that joke didn't fucking work. Anyway,
Well, you tried. So, Bailey, among that inventory of animals, if you were a cop breaking into a Belgium apartment, it just is absolutely like hot boxed.
yeah.
Which one of those would you be the most upset about coming across? The 52 tarantulas, the python, the scorpions, the turtles, or the bearded dragons? Or the 16 beetles, I guess.
I guess it depends on their enclosure. If they're just loose, I'd be like, hell no.
Well, they're all in terrariums, but let's say no lids.
Oh! The tarantulas, because there's way more of them.
Yeah, that's true. 52 is also kind of a lot of
52 is a lot.
tarantulas. They're kind of a
And
lot of work.
Well, they get big too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I could see if they're like in just like a little fish tank aquarium that you'd normally keep like a betta fish or like a
Hmm.
goldfish in, shoving all those in there. Yeah, that's pretty cruel, you
Yeah, it's
know?
pretty upsetting. And I wish I
So,
could have seen a picture of the apartment to see how many enclosures they had. But a lot of these
yeah.
things will cannibalize each other. So, like, you can't keep too
Oh,
many of them in the same enclosure. So,
yeah.
I don't know if it's a case like maybe they were trafficking them. I had to do some digging, but I think I figured it out. So, again, to me, I think the 16 Beatles is probably the worst because like why do they even have those? Like what's the purpose? So I've known a lot of like sick MFers in my day, but none of them, and I mean not a single one has ever owned 16 Beatles for any reason, let alone whatever these sick perverts had them for.
Honestly, how cool would it be to have 16 Volkswagen Beetles just in your living room though?
Man,
That'd
have
be
you ever
so
seen
rich.
Gabriel Iglesias's Volkswagen collection?
No.
It's worth Googling sometime. He has like a whole
Huh.
warehouse full of buses.
Dang, that's sick as fuck. You know,
It
that's
says
cool.
16 candles. It's Beatles.
16.
Marginally
Oh
more
my
expensive to
gosh.
produce. That wasn't a good
Yeah.
joke either.
That, you know what? If you're still listening at this point, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I thought it would come to me by the time I got through there, but it didn't. So,
It happens.
yeah. Anyway, Bailey, drugs may have been the least of these criminals' worries, as it so happens. Reptiles actually have cannabinoid receptors, which surprised me. So that means they can process THC and thus get high from it. So it's
Oh.
not safe for all reptiles. And while this may sound like a cool way to chill with your cool, cold-blooded companion, it's
Hmm.
actually not so vibe. So snakes, turtles, and lizards, all present at this party, don't have a way to contextualize their high, so drugs tend to cause them undue stress. So, anxiety, unexpected behaviors, aggression, poor coordination, and other issues can occur when they're exposed to THC. They also have very delicate lungs, so it's best administered to them through an edible rather than smoke. But again, it's cruel and an animal can't consent to drugs, so you
Yeah.
shouldn't do it.
Well, many people don't know this, but that's actually the rabbit in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, that's what happened. They
Wait,
got
what?
super high. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
You know
Is
the
this
scene
real
with
or
the
a joke?
rabbit? No, I was making a joke, Ethan. I was making a joke that they got the bunny super high and then it ripped everyone's heads off. You believed
I'm
me.
like, dang, that's sad. As a proud rabbit mother, I thought, oh man,
No.
this must be hitting really close to her. Oh.
Oh my god.
So anyway,
Oh man.
I'm using all my 89 IQ points tonight. So, when it comes to spiders, some research suggests that they too possess cannabinoid receptors. In fact, many people might be familiar with the work of Swiss pharmacologist Peter N. Witt and his research on the effect of drugs on spiders. So basically, this guy administered different drugs to spiders to measure how it affected like their web building habits. LSD led to uniform and beautiful webs. Caffeine led to erratic and nervous webs, while marijuana led to somewhat uniform but lazy webs, kind of like a hammock. Big freaking shock. But anyway, also this is
Hmm.
100% real, and this happened like back in the 40s or 50s.
Oh my god.
It literally sounds fake, but I'm gonna send you over in the chat real quick, and if you're watching on Spotify video or on YouTube, I'll toss it up here if I can find it. Oops, where did my
There's no way
image
that
go?
this guy wasn't like, I'm keeping some of this for myself.
I've actually thought about that on multiple occasions, where I'm like, when they're studying this stuff, like, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the chain of custody? Who's to say you gave the spider 1 gram or 2 grams? But yeah, it's interesting. They again
Huh.
measured what the drugs would affect it on, and you can see under THC The spiders aren't super great at building webs. Some of the
It kind of
things
looks like a
like
snow angel.
a little bit, yeah. And I mean, some of the
Yeah.
stuff like caffeine, it's way more erratic, but honestly, it's worse than the marijuana. So
What is chloral hydrate?
I have no idea. I should Google that real quick. Chloral hydrate.
Should I Google it in my private browser?
Chloral hydrate for sale near me. Oh,
It
with the
was
formula
first
bubble.
used
Sedative
as
and a hypnotic in Germany? Why? Wait,
it,
who
it,
used it
it
as a
was
hypnotic?
it was used in the short-term treatment of insomnia and to relieve anxiety and induce sleep before surgery. It
Oh,
is also used after surgery for pain and to treat alcohol withdrawal.
interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, it made the spiders not very productive. That's for dang sure. I mean,
Well,
that
that
web
makes
looks more like a
sense.
broken window.
Yeah,
All right.
you know.
So, yeah, again, there are some of the web patterns. So, obviously,
Nice.
I am not going to discuss the effect on beetles as I am trying to keep myself civil, but I did want to cover scorpions. So, I couldn't find any scientific references to scorpions and THC, which is a great research project for an aspiring doctor, or zoologist, or biologist out there. But I did
Hmm.
find a guy on Reddit who was asking the community if he could accidentally get his pet scorpion high by smoking in the same room as it.
Okay.
So,
And what
yeah.
were the answers?
A lot of answers mostly saying that it just wasn't safe and wasn't good for the animal's interest. But I think this guy was wonderful for caring about his pets in the first place. And it really helps cultivate some of my hope for humanity in that sense. So his username was Pi is the Truth 32, and he was born in 2001. He's 6'5" and bisexual for any guys or girls or non-binary out there who are looking for love. Somebody who likes DMT and scorpions and lives in Texas. They are out there and they love to overshare information. But
All
he
right.
also posts a lot about like doing a bunch of drugs, and if if that's your thing, I don't know, maybe we can hook you up with him. What if we could maybe even hook him up with one of these
We don't
guys from Belgium, honestly, if you think about it. They got arrested for
on it.
having
Yeah.
scorpions and weed.
Well, they do weed and they had scorpions, so
Yeah.
they've got that in common so far.
We might have just
So we could
we might have just made a love connection on this
we
show
might
today.
have.
Yeah.
I am here for the ship. I'm
Absolutely.
here for
So
it. I
I
ship
will
them.
reach out to the Belgium police, the Brussels police, and see if we can get some names to go with these numbers, and we'll hook them up with that Pious the Truth 32. Shout out to you. Okay. Bailey, at this point, what's your opinion about all of this, and what the flip do you think was actually going on in that apartment?
I don't know, dude. It could have just been like, cause how many people live there?
Two
Just two
people, just the dad and the
two
son.
people. Okay. So like they're just vibing, chilling. They got all these pets. Maybe they weren't super smart with it. Now if they were like straight up, you know, not taking care of them, that's not good. But fuck those neighbors. I mean,
Honestly,
honestly,
yeah,
I
narcs.
smell I smell that smell. I smell the skunk smell every now and then in my neighborhood, and like it's not my business.
Yeah, you roll out the window and you're like, da 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 da.
No, that's only when Adam farts in the car. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Um, no,
Ethan,
I think you're probably. Oh my god.
I'm messing with you.
Um, jeez. I think you're probably right though. I tend to think this is probably a case of some people who got into some eccentricities and they just went full hog with it. Maybe they were
Hmm.
selling off like breeding and selling some of the animals. Maybe they took some of them as payment or something because that's a thing, people will trade like a freaking
Yeah.
cockatiel for a joint. But my
Yeah.
thought is mainly this. There were a couple of guys, a couple of drugs, and a couple of spiders. Things started out great, and then Well, things got serious, and I don't think it's anyone's fault. But even if the police do think it's their fault, people make mistakes. I mean, half the people listening to this podcast are only here because their parents made a mistake. Are we going to call the police on every single one of them, too? I think that that would say more about us than it says about them.
Ethan, what the hell is wrong with you?
I'm just trying to keep it real, you know? But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that these were some chill dudes, and overall, I don't know the broader context, but I'd like to hang out with them, you know? I'm not saying that I'm just gonna like, roll up to England and like just like smoke a flippin' spliff because I don't give a care or something like that. Like some of these homies are trying to get up in this dog doing on that. But I
Where
am
did you get that?
saying, what?
Where did
Yeah.
you get those glasses?
From my desk.
Uh-huh. Where have you Okay. That that looked like a nose, like an oxygen line under your nose. It just made it look even more funny.
Imagine rolling up to
Like,
the job site and you're wearing pit vipers off brand and you got freaking an oxygen mask. Like you're barely getting around.
and you're like in line to go skiing somewhere with the oxygen. Oh my god.
I can't even get these
Dude.
things freaking off my head.
No, have you ever worn those out before?
Well, it's hard to wear them out. They're quite durable. What do you mean? You mean out in
Oh my
public?
god. Yes, out in public, Ethan.
No, these were a gift.
Okay.
I got these for Christmas
Um,
from my grandpa. He said he
you
saw
should.
them in the store and they reminded him of me.
Dude, what?
I think
That's
they're kind of
hilarious.
sick.
Is that blood splatter? Is it blood
It's
splatter
like
on there?
red, white, and blue splatter.
Oh, okay. I think that would go perfect for the next funeral you go to.
Oh, I might have to whip those out. I'll roll up with my oxygen mask and my pit vipers, and just we'll have a grand old remorseful, or I guess mournful time. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
There you go.
yeah, I don't know. I think this was a pretty suspicious incident. It blew up because people weren't happy about all the spiders, but when I started doing some Googling, I found all these weird web similarities, both in the areas of romantic interests by people posting on Reddit who are confirmed still posting to this day. Like they kind of post a lot, so I don't think they're the same people. They weren't arrested. And then I found somebody, some rando scientist, probably off in freaking Europe somewhere, you know, rest of those weirdos near France, um, experimenting on spiders with cannabis. And I thought, why does this keep happening?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, humans are curious. We want to know cause and effect of things.
Hmm.
So maybe that's part of it. Maybe they're psychopaths. I don't know.
It
I
could
mean,
be.
people are still testing science, like, I don't know, like for cancer research. Like we're still testing on animals and stuff.
That's true. It's very sad,
So,
and you can't get that, cruelty-free
yeah.
logo on the back of your moisturizer. So just don't do it.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
But yeah, all that's to say is I think that there's something interesting that the thread always ends as soon as we get here, or the spider web, spider thread, if you will. Makes me think maybe the cops even showed up because these people were about to figure something out that they didn't want them to know. So if you got some spiders and you got some weed, I would keep that to your freaking self. And if you've got 16 beetles, turn off the podcast. We don't want you listening. I don't want to hear from you. That's sick.
I don't know. I mean, the beetles with like the giant pinchers on them are pretty cool.
Like
You know what I'm talking
stags,
about?
Hercules, Goliath. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those.
Yeah, that could be. But if you
Those are
have
cool.
16, why do you even have those? Like,
I don't know. You're being kind of disrespectful though.
to the
Right now.
what? To the 16 beetle community? Frickin'
To the
excuse me.
beetles, it's not okay to discriminate, Ethan. You can't
Look,
discriminate against them.
that's true. I think everybody has some implicit bias, and it's good to recognize those things and try to make changes. Recognizing them and immersing yourself in those communities if you can. But some communities, like people who have 16 beetles, are you kidding me? I'd almost rather go to France, and you know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean, you and I have worked at a shared workplace where there were many more than 16 beetles.
If you consider a roach a beetle, that is true. We did have at one point. Oh, were they pets? I don't know, but we did have a good
I don't
collection of beetles.
Sorry, I was I was thinking about the
Like shaking the curtain.
cockroaches. Oh my god! I like shut it out of my mind and now it's back.
Oh man, there was a
Oh.
specific curtain at our office where we worked where you could just go shake it and you just hear
Ugh.
like the shuffling sound of all the
It would be
roaches
like
falling off.
it would be like a heavy
It sounds exactly
like
like that.
like this, like sounds like this. Like hitting the ground and then just like skittering off and you're like, "Oh my god."
I
Yeah.
feel like there's a magic threshold of the number of roaches you have to hit before they make like a skittering sound. Okay, that was
Excuse
creepy.
you?
Oh, the cat
It's
knocked
my
it over.
cat. She pushed on the
I thought your stand
microphone.
just hit the magic point on the springs where they said, "Nope, we're done."
No.
Yep.
Thankfully not.
But that's all I got on this. It was a pretty big case back in late 2022, and I think I did get to the bottom of it by doing just a little bit of sleuthing. So yeah, I mean sometimes we're up with a bunch of mysteries like goblins, and sometimes we figure out what's going on here. You know, we have those investigative chops.
Okay, what happened to the animals?
I'm just assuming they were euthanized. I don't know. I don't know
Oh
anything
my
about
god!
Maybe I don't know. It didn't say what happened to the animals. I'm sure they brought in flipping animal control because the cops
Oh
didn't want to
my
reach in and
God.
raw fist a freaking python around its neck like there's some
Yeah.
Steve Irwin, you know?
Probably not.
Yeah. I don't know. I can Google what the frick happened to the animals. It's nothing. Nobody knows. There's no information. Okay. There's too many results.
Dang it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
right.
Not all stories have a happy
okay.
ending, but we can at least, figure out what happened.
Unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, thanks for following us on this little crime journey here. If you're from Belgium and you're listening to this, thank you. Sorry about your southern border, but other than that, it looks like a beautiful place. Great architecture. Big fan of the "Hit Bowling for Soup" song, named after the country.
Mm-hmm. Belgium.
This has been Bailey's least favorite episode in our
know.
catalog so far.
I mean, this is for sure an episode about crime. I'm just not sure how true it is. I don't know that we can call it true crime.
It really happened. That's why I brought up the whole
More like fake crime.
This is why I brought up the Associated Press thing to show you that there was some reliable citations that this
I'm
is
gonna
a
have
real
to see
crime.
your sources.
I'll send you my sources. They're
Share
my
it.
freaking
Share
Google
Share your
document.
Google Doc right now.
Well, right now, I don't know about that, but I mean,
No,
if you give
I
me a
mean-
couple business days.
To type it up.
Exactly.
No, dude, I believe you. I'm just messing.
Oh, for sure. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, thanks for listening to us yap. And I really enjoyed learning about crime and talking about pets that can hurt you, but don't always.
All right, our theme music is Cherry Crush by Eric Safaro. You can find all kinds of new music, drop it on the flippin' constantly. Really cool stuff anywhere you stream. That's SFERRO. You can shoot us a message at nicheknowledgeandnonsense@gmail.com if you can spell all those words. And you can find us on Instagram at NKNPod.
Yeah, idiots. See you later.
Yeah.